Hello, good evening. Hope everyone's doing okay. Thanks for coming along. I can look at hello Richard Jones. I can look at FX. In fact, I'm going to start with FX because this dollar index is really interesting. So I came up with a target zone here for this dollar index, which is 50%. It's in a big wedge basically, and here we are at 50% back of this high to low. And also, if I measure this swing low to high, this zone here has us at 1.618 of the distance of this first rally. And it's also, if I measure it from this correction, which I like to do, kind of 1.618. So I was expecting a reversal, to be honest, in this zone. And it's only been 2 days, you know, and I was expecting, if I look at each one of these other fib levels, I was expecting a pullback similar to this, and it hasn't happened. And this is really quite a drag for crypto. It's really quite a drag on metals, which are really suffering today, bearish reversals. And it's really quite a drag on this idea we had in the euro. You know, the sentiment for the euro, God, I've got the wrong chart here, hold on. The sentiment for the euro was really, really poor. It wasn't helped by Lagarde coming out and saying that they would not hike rates in 2022. But I was still thinking that this 61.8 and this bottom of this parallel channel might give us a little bit of a bounce. It corresponded with that 50% level in the dollar index, and hasn't happened. I think actually we're going to have to widen our channel and we're headed lower. So clearly the support after a really modest bounce has broken and we're still headed lower. 1.1288 now becomes resistance. Now we have got the Fed minutes this week right before the Thanksgiving holiday, and sometimes the Fed minutes can be a little bit of a turning point in the marketplace. We've seen that. So I wouldn't be surprised, but at the moment, whilst we stay underneath 1.1288, the euro dollar is headed to 110 and a 786 fib retrace, which I have to say the euro dollar absolutely loves. It's like favorite kind of retrace ratio. So as long as we stand there, we've got more dollar strength to come, and that's not going to be great for most of the things we look at. So one of the things that we were thinking this year is potentially we would see a recovery in gold, you know, because we had this lovely sort of double bottom here, a really nice retest, and up we go. But whenever you get a pattern and you see an equal measured move like we've done here, and it corrects back below the back test of the 61.8 level, that confirms the reversal. And so this whole move now from this August low means this is corrective. So we've got 3 waves down, 3 waves up, and now, and when you get a equal measured move like this, an ABC, it usually retraces to the 786 fib again, and that again would be down here and a retest of these lows, so back to 1724. So although we're at 1815 now, and we're not going to go in a straight line, obviously we're going to bounce and do another leg lower, but this is a real drag for gold and means we've got at least another $100 to drop, unfortunately. And the same thing for silver. I was hoping that this would work out with a really nice parallel channel, that we would, you know, get to the top of our channel and get above this 200-day moving average. We've failed at the 200-day moving average. We failed at also where, if I measure this swing low to high, this was the 61.8. So this C leg was 61.8 of the A leg, which is a very common correction pattern. And by falling more than the 236 fib and back underneath this daily 20 moving average is also confirming the reversal for me today. Here we are, so underneath 24.45. So I also think now that 24.45 on any bounce in silver will be resistance, and this is going to continue lower. And because this is also a 3-wave ABC correction, I think that we're headed back to 22.27 down here, a really deep correction, and then hopefully another leg higher to the top of the wedge, but that's a biggie. And funny you mentioned, you're asking about the pound yen. See, funny you should mention that, because we had a massive resistance level today in this dollar yen. So in the dollar yen, you know, we've got these highs here at 114.50, really important weekly highs. This is a weekly chart. But also in this, if I measure from the low that we made in May 2016 to this high, and I project it from here, you know, I want to see what if we stop at this 61.8 level. And in fact, we blasted through it and it became support. Some people say, well, don't measure the spike, you know, measure it from this low. Well, okay, even if we do that, this is it. We're really close to a breakout, and that gives us a breakout level of 114.74, and we're going to just close above it. So either way, I think that this is a breakout move higher, and because we didn't stop at this 61.8, I think we're headed to 120.84, which is where the big equal measured move pattern would be here for the Japanese yen. Now, if we put our fibs on this one from high to low here, fib retrace levels, you see this lines up with the 786, and our first leg is to the 61.8. So that, if you do harmonic patterns, will make this a big bearish Gartley pattern with an ABC equal measured move. So for me, this is a big picture kind of on the weekly or monthly. This is a bearish pattern, but for now, you know, we're at 114 and we've got another 600 pips, I think, of upside in dollar yen before we get there. So that's quite an exciting swing trade as well, I think, in dollar yen. So dollar yen quite bullish. So if we think that the pound is going to outperform other currencies, then the pound yen should also be one of those ones that goes up higher with dollar yen. Well, let's take a look at our weekly chart here in dollar yen, because pound yen, I think we've got a bit of a bigger pullback to come here to this 38.2 and this weekly 200 moving average. I see us in a down channel. I was hoping we would break out here. I was really hoping we would break out here after a nice three-wave correction and carry on higher, but we haven't. So we've lost the 236 fib as well last week, consolidated underneath it. So for me, all the confluence in the next place that I'm looking for the pound yen to find support is down here at 131. So further to fall also for pound, sorry, this is pound dollar. So pound dollar back to 131 before we find support in this one. So in pound yen, now pound yen stopped at a bit of a tricky level, because for me it's off the lows in September 2016. If we look at the monthly chart, we have stalled it again, another equal measured move, which would point to this whole rally just being corrective. However, it's not really reversed yet. So far it's just, well, it's done like 8 months of sideways, hasn't it? We've had a big rally, we've had 3 inside bars, dropped another one. We've been in a sideways range basically in this pound yen for quite some time. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we held the support here back at around 147 and then carried on higher. For me, this is only going to be a bearish reversal. Big swing, and I'm talking big picture here, back below 144, and that would, so let's see what that's going to do short term, because short term this is just a bit of an ugly pattern. At a minimum here with this drop, I would expect to see a three-wave correction before we continue higher, and we've really kind of only made one. Even if we look at it on a daily here, you know, you can, it's very difficult to discern that we've made a three-wave correction here. So although I think most yen crosses are going to outperform dollar pairs, I still think that there's a risk that we do kind of this and, you know, potentially another leg lower in this pound yen before we go up again. So whenever I see flat moving averages, which we've got here on the daily, going sideways and a choppy sideways range. I really kind of, I put it on the back burner, and it's not my kind of favorite trade. You know, I much prefer trending markets, to be honest. So no trend, but if we were to break these highs, strong outside movement, we would still have a lot of resistance up here, you know, before, but if we could break 157, I would get quite excited about pound yen. Okay, so gold and silver, this is pretty depressing news for the dollar. The dollar strength is, you know, hitting quite a lot of markets quite hard. I think that we've got much further to fall, potentially as well in crude oil, but we'll talk about that next week, I think. Okay. So if you trying to see that you're looking for the info that the title advertises. Okay, well, if you look at the first paragraph, it says, I'm going to look at forex and futures markets. Tonight we're looking at the US dollar, stock indexes, gold, silver, then Bitcoin, Ethereum, plus Litecoin, Ripple, Mana, FLM, Solana, AVAX, GALA, XAVA, Ocean, UOS, CRV, ENS, and well, hopefully that'll be enough crypto for you. You could always, there's lots of other people doing this, you could always, you know, jog on. Okay, so let's take a look at Bitcoin. Now, one of the reasons that I said that Bitcoin goes first is whenever we make a high or a low, Bitcoin tends to turn first. If you overlaid the stock market and Bitcoin, you will see at turning points, Bitcoin tends to, actually I think gold gets there first almost always, but Bitcoin's second, and then usually the stock markets. And that's really kind of what we've seen this week. This is a weekly chart. Now, we had a nasty bearish reversal last week, short term. Now, let's unlock this, because whenever I'm looking at a swing, so we can say that, all right, particularly like the most recent 5-wave swing, I look at this, and, you know, for me, we start a correction if we break the 236 fib level. And in Bitcoin this week, that coincided with the $60,000 round number level and these really previous highs. You know, whenever a market makes a new high, you really do want to see it make a new high, and then when it comes back and retest, new buyers come in because they're frightened that we're going to carry on at new highs and they're going to miss out. And so whenever you just sit on top of those new highs and then you fall back underneath them, there's always the it means that it's not scared the buyers to jump in. And so here we are. And not only that, but that 60,000 or that 236 fib becomes resistance, and that's exactly what we've seen here in Bitcoin. So we dropped underneath our support and resistance level, we came back, we retested it, we double topped here. This is a 4-hour chart, and now we're underneath it. Today on the open, we had just before the open, we had a really sharp bounce, retested this level 59,500 and got rejected again. So that points now to lower moves. So I always, now I don't want to scare anyone, but I'm a huge fan of the $200 moving average. I think the 200 moving average is the king of the chart. When you're above it, you're in an uptrend, no doubt about it. And when you're underneath it, you're in a downtrend, unless you're flat going sideways and your moving average is level. And so with this bearish cross and underneath our daily moving averages, there is a risk that we come back now to this $200 moving average unless we find support before then. So where are we likely to do this? Well, I've put my fibs back to the bottom of these lows. The 38.2 is our next support, and that's at 53,624. And if I zoom out here and we go all the way back to the lows that we made in the whole start of this swing on the weekly, sorry, like this. I've got log scale on. I'm going to take us out of log scale so you can see a bit better. We'll change the color. you'll see that the big 236 fib from the lows and this 38.2 line up together. And so that kind of is added confluence of our next support being down at 53,465. Well done, Jason. Okay, so 53,465. That's also going to be around about where the 20 weekly moving average is. It's a really good place to look for support, but if we continue, then the 61.8 of this swing lines up with the 38.2 retrace. It would be crazy. It would be really wild if we came down to this 53,400 level and didn't have quite a strong bounce there. So if you're short, honestly, this is where I really do think that, watch out and see what happens. Now, the first time you bounce for it in crypto, we almost always retest levels. So don't worry if you miss it the first time, but I think that that's where we're headed, unfortunately, from here. So when I said Bitcoin goes first and watch out for Turkey, whenever you have a 3 or a 4 day holiday weekend, very often you will see a trend reversal around that holiday. So we've been in a really, really long uptrend in stock indexes. We've got this holiday weekend coming up. People will be de-risking ahead of this holiday, especially because it will coincide with month end. When you come back after the Thanksgiving and Black Friday holiday weekend, there's only the 29th, 30th at the beginning of next week, so it's month end. So I think that we're going to see some de-risking this week, and that may not revert to the trend again until a couple of days after the holiday next week. So that's what I'm thinking. And so this is why I think we've seen some weakness today in stock indexes, particularly, the NASDAQ is most correlated with crypto. Pretty nasty reversal starting today in this one. So, yeah, it's just one of those weeks. And also, don't forget the Fed minutes on Wednesday as well. That honestly can sometimes just be lots of volatility. So we need to watch out for that. So otherwise, I think that we'll have quite thin liquidity in a lot of markets Thursday, Friday this week, and that could be a bit of an issue. Just trying to remember if there's anything else. No. Bank of New Zealand on Tuesday. Otherwise, it's on Wednesday. Sorry. Otherwise, it's quite a quiet week, holiday week. Okay, so that's where we are. I'm looking for de-risking in stock indexes. These bonds, the dollar and the bonds and the dollar and stock indexes have been rallying together. I'm wondering if a pullback in stock indexes will cause the dollar to pull back, but it just looks ridiculously strong. So I think that we have bust this level now, and yeah, let's wait and see after Wednesday. If we were to close back underneath that 1.618, maybe, but at the moment, this is all pointing to pretty bad news for most assets priced in the dollar, and that means crypto for us. So, bearish reversal, broken support in crypto. What does this mean for Ethereum? Ethereum actually today is back at support potentially. Let's talk about why. It's mainly because of this daily 50 moving average. We've been pinched up in between these moving averages. A little bit of support here as well. Also, if I put my fibs on from high to low, we stopped at the 50% back of this high to low. Whenever you do that, markets that mean revert tend to keep mean reverting. So you would normally look for this to bounce from 50% back the other way. We kind of tried it here, and then you look for a 50% rally, and then you see which way you get into this tighter and tighter pattern. You can see we rallied 50% here, and then you're looking for this tighter and tighter pattern to break. And in the case of Ethereum, it's broken lower because we would have expected a 50% back, and then, you know, so lower, bounced 50%, and now we are still then in a downtrend. So potentially we've got some support from this daily 50 moving average. Otherwise, I'm afraid the path of least resistance in this one is lower. And if we line up where our fibs are going to take us in this one, there's the 38.2 from there. There's our 236 fibs. So I still think, you know, we've got some pretty potential support here for ETH to bounce. I wonder if that means that ETH is going to bounce against Bitcoin. Let's take a look. Potentially, doesn't it? When you have a big thrust candle like this, and then 3 little inside bars that stay in the top half of the candle, that's a very bullish pattern. Rising 3 methods or falling 3 methods. So for ETH against Bitcoin, when we look at this big rally, 3 waves back, that's quite bullish. Then a thrust candle, you know, it does look like ETH is about to have another go at outperforming Bitcoin. But, you know, when we look big picture daily here, we're really just in a huge consolidation wedge, aren't we? So it's not exactly a great trend until we break out. So it would just be short term ETH outperforming Bitcoin. That usually means quite good news for alts. So let's see if we can get somewhere with that. So Grifflet said, your thoughts on potential harmonics? Still, it is quite hard to get a grip of where we are. I tell you what, I tell you what my concern with Bitcoin is, or my bigger picture view for a while has been that I think that this here that we're doing is still a big wave 4 correction. So we rallied. This was wave 2. This is wave 3, and we're still in wave 4. We're going ABC. So effectively, we're going to do a 3-wave correction like this. Now, I don't know if this third wave will be 61.8 of this first wave, or it'll be equal, or it might even come back and retest the lows. That would be quite spooky. But that's what I think we're doing. And one of the things that I've noticed is Bitcoin is pretty good at patterns. So if I put on the monthly chart, for example, it tends to, you know, the corrections tend to kind of be equal in time if they're not in price. And so if this is our let's take the log scale off. If this was our new wave 1, if this is our new wave 1, this is wave 2, this is wave 3, and if we take the same amount of time that we took for our wave 2, that would put us making a bottom at the end of December, beginning of January. So we measure from here, you can see it lines up 1st of January, and it does that if you do it on the weekly chart as well. So actually that puts the low on the 29th of December. And when we made this low here at the end of 2018, it was equal to the 2014-2015 correction. So it tends to kind of follow those patterns, and so that's why I think that we've entered a correction now. We're likely to make a bottom around the end of December, beginning of January. I don't know if you're into financial astrology. I looked back at, you know, that's Venus is retrograde, and Venus rules money. And when I looked back and looked at every other Venus retrograde period for Bitcoin since it was established, in every one, the start of Venus retrograde would see a bit of a setback. It wouldn't be a massive drop, but it wasn't I couldn't find a period that was a rally, and everyone started with a little bit of a sell-off, and so that happens mid-December. So that would kind of fall in with that pattern as well. And if you're not into financial astrology, just, markets do make patterns that repeat quite often. And so we'll just stick with that and say, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we made a really nice low around the end of December, and we made a really nice low around the end of December in 2018, and we bounced from it. And, we tend to make highs or lows in December with Bitcoin. So it does have quite a strong bullish seasonal pattern, but, I think it's just going to end early this year. So that's my view of where we are now. That puts us at a minimum. So if we measure from this high to this low and we project it from here, and so we are for our three-wave correction, that puts our three-wave correction at a minimum, coming down to this weekly 50 moving average at 46,000. Okay, which would be the lower of our two levels that we were looking for. It's going to be down here, 46,000. So that's a bit of a drag. It's also, that also lines up, I think, with, anyway. I will do Litecoin in a minute. Yes. Hello, Arrow. So if I'm wrong, in other words, okay, some people are going to say, yeah, we're never going back to 46,000. But if I'm wrong, then we should be looking for, and this in fact is 5 waves up. So we've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, because we have lost this big 236, then the big 236 fib level from the lows will catch us, and we won't drop underneath it. So that means that now we've got two big levels that we're looking for, really. 53,400, which is the big 236 fib all the way from this whole 5-wave swing. And we will only go down to that 43,000 if that breaks. And so that's where, if we bounce from there and then continue to new highs, then I'm probably wrong. And I'm okay with that. I'm wrong a lot, okay? So those are the kind of two real levels. Now, that 46,000 level, if we look at the moment, that's also exactly where the daily 200 moving average is. So that 61.8 pattern would line us up with the 200 moving average. And that makes a lot of sense for a moving average trader as well. When you lose those moving averages down, you go to the next one. So there we go. So 53,000 or 46,000 are the two support levels. And I believe it's more bullish, I think, if we drop down to this lower one, and this is still a big wave 4 that we're in, because then, wave 5s can go for a very long time and extend a long way. So that would be really good starting 2022 at the beginning of a wave 5. So Andrew Ballard says 70k target. Well, waves 1 and wave 5s have relationships, don't they? So we could try and reverse engineer a bit. So we could say, so say we come back down to that lower level by Christmas, and then we rally from there. 74,000, which interestingly lines up with another target I have. 74,000 would be the first target that gives us a new high, wouldn't it? And then 92,000 next, and then so on. And we'll, because they can extend, we could say, so we would have 74, 92, 120. But yes. And I don't know, early 22, well, yeah, first 3 months anyway. Yeah, you're right, early 22, yeah. 74,000. 75,000. And you know how Bitcoin loves round numbers? 75,000 would make a lot of sense for the next upside target. Okay, Litecoin. So let's have a quick peek at Litecoin, because Litecoin usually is quite a good leading indicator for Bitcoin. Let's put regular candles on and see where we are, because we have got the reversal that we didn't want to see. And in this one as well, 1, 2, here's the thing. This is looking like a little bit of a bearish equal measured move pattern in Litecoin. Whenever you have that pattern and you lose the 61.8 level, which we did today, then that points to more downside. So unfortunately, and at least a 786 retrace. So we got underneath it, we went back, we retested, we're still headed lower. And so I'm going to look now for retrace levels from this low, and we'll see where we are. We'll just climb down them like a stairway. And if you look, we're sort of respecting them. We had a nice bounce off this 50%. We could double bottom here because we've done 3 waves, this wave down. You know, we could do a 3-wave bounce from here if we don't make a new low in Litecoin before we go lower. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Thank you, Arrow. Ryan Milliken says, is Litecoin still a leader? You feel like it pumps at the end of bullishness. Let's compare. I used to find it short term a really good indicators. Like if you're watching a 4-hour or an hourly chart, I used to find that, yeah, it did turn first. So, for example, off the bottom, they look very correlated at the moment, though, don't they? I'm not sure that on the daily it does look like it, but I find on a, or I used to find on a lower time frame that it was good, it turns first. But I'm looking at this, it's all one soup, isn't it? So, not working so well at the moment, let's put it that way. So, Litecoin then, bearish reversal, really nasty bearish reversal, and even this is all choppy, overlapping, corrective, unfortunately. So, back to our moving averages. First bounce should be back to 180. Then I think we could see a bounce, and then we'll likely see another leg lower. No, I try to answer all the questions I can. Potentially we could come all the way back to 146 in Litecoin dollar. At the moment, I have to say, if we were to ignore the fib rules and just look at moving average rules, you know, we're pretty well supported with these moving averages in Bitcoin. They've crossed the 20 and the 50 have crossed above the 200. You know, this is the kind of scenario where you would expect to come back and it would find support. If we draw it as a, we could potentially draw it as a parallel channel. Sometimes that works. It's a little bit woolly in this one, isn't it? It looks better by bet on the weekly. Yeah, no, not back to the bottom of this channel anyway, I think is where we're headed in Litecoin. I have seen Bitcoin, no, I have seen Litecoin rally first, actually. I really have. So we'll see. So that's how I'm seeing Litecoin from here. Now, there's a few that I was looking at today and I was thinking, you know, we could really see a nice rally from here. And Litecoin is one of them. Third touch of this trend line. This is a weekly 20 moving average. Pretty good support and resistance level here. We've had a tiny little move so far. And on the daily, you know, we haven't made a new low. We're just kind of sideways trying to make a base here above the daily 200 moving average. So if this is, in fact, a coiling up, this would be a really good place to do it from. If it's not, though, if it's not, let's measure, because we're making big 3-wave moves here in Ripple. So it's all correct. 3 waves down, 3 waves up. So we should see 3 waves down and then uptrend resume, right? So if we measure from this high to this low, we're looking for where the 61.8 level is. And then that's where potentially we could see a rally from. If we don't, we're going to come down here. And so this now is support here. So 200-day moving average and 1.005, which is where we're 61.8 of this swing. And that round number 1 in Ripple dollar is also kind of a big round number to look for to bounce off. So a little bit lower potentially for Ripple, and then we may have some support at 1.0005. And if I draw my trend line more accurately, I always think trend lines should be drawn with quite a thick pen, but we have got room to go a little bit lower in Ripple. And then let's see if that round number 1 can be support. Somebody said to me, do I think that Ripple Labs will win their lawsuit with the SEC? You know, the SEC are not very good at winning in court. They're very good at forcing people to settle, but they're not very good at winning in court. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Ripple did win their lawsuit. And so having a little Ripple is a bit like having a bit of a legal lottery ticket, isn't it? We'll see if it goes or not. Okay, so let's look at some charts that don't look quite so depressing. Mana's one of them. Mana this morning was one that I looked at. I thought that was in a actually in a really good place to rally from. So let's see, 1 second, we'll find Mana. So here's Mana. Let's start with the daily chart, because these are the fib projection levels. I keep moving them up as we go up through them. So this was a target level, hit it, pull back to the previous one as support, and now we were looking to hold above it and keep going higher. So this now, these previous highs are support in Mana and around this 3.7 level. So on a lower time frame, I was looking for a 3-wave correction and Mana to turn up again. The problem is, you know, when I look at these size of these corrections, it may be that we need to, we're not quite ready. If everything else is going down, that very often means a retest of the lows before you can turn up again. But for me, this is really good support in Mana as long as we stay above 3.57. So for me, I wouldn't be dumping this one yet. I think it's still got potential for sure. And if we look at these closing prices, you know, this is the first time we've been able to close above 3.6, and so still got room to go higher in Mana, and the upside targets are 5.63 and 13.78, which is crazy, but yeah, that's where it is. So looking for more upside, and if we count the swings, I think this is, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we should make a new high in a wave 5 here. Arrow says, is there any possibility of Ripple going to 0.825? Yeah, it's always possible. It is always possible. Yes. If it breaks down, then you go back and look for horizontal levels. So, because we drew Ripple as a triangle, didn't we, in a wedge. Okay, so if this breaks down, then we would look for horizontal support, and that comes in at these previous lows and the fib level at 0.84, and the equal measure move is a little bit lower at 0.79. So somewhere in this zone, yes, that's where we would go to, in fact, if that support didn't hold. Hello, Alex Limpkin, good to see you. Okay, next one we're going to look at. So we like Mana. It's in a nice uptrend. It's made a nice little 3-wave correction. I'm not sure if it's ready to go up again yet or not, but it is looking pretty good. So next one that's looking really good is FLM. Now, I think this is in a 5th wave, and I'm really hoping that this marginal new high that we made is not the end of this rally. So 1, 2, 3, 4, either way, this is a pretty whichever way you look at it, this pullback here, this is a nice three-wave correction. Our moving averages are turning up bullish. We can break this double top, then we've got a really nice looking bottom here, and we need to get above that 200 moving average. Got really close to it today. If everything is pulling back, though, it won't happen. So what do I want to see if this really is going to keep going higher from here? And this was in the breakout that I think it was. I want to see 1,079 be support and hold as support. And if 1,079 holds as support, then I think we'll have another go and retest this 200-day moving average and turn up higher from here. This 1,079 level, the reason I really like it, let's go to the weekly, is it's a big 236 fib from this high to low. It's where the weekly moving averages are. You know, we've closed above them. And so this one I think is really quite exciting. Everything is turning up higher. This is FLM against Bitcoin. Okay, so do we want FLM against the dollar? Because it could be going up against Bitcoin, but if Bitcoin is in a crash, it maybe doesn't look so good. So let's take a look. FLM US dollar. Let's look at it against Tether. We'll go on our daily chart. Now this is why you can see we really do like it. Let's put regular candles on. We've done a beautiful three-wave correction back to the 200-day moving average, turning up higher again. This 20 moving average then, just at the lows today, should be support if we're going to break out from this channel that we're in. And it wasn't a false, but let's draw it something like, let's connect the lows first. I think we're in a bit of a, anyway, bullish flag, hopefully. So the low, in fact, where we are now is where I'm looking for support in FLM US dollar and to turn up higher from here. Nice three-wave correction back to the 200 moving average. If we don't, and if we keep going, and if we go more than 50%, then obviously this is not the look that I wanted, and we've got a third drive lower to come. But right where we are now is where I'm looking for it to turn up higher. So this is where I like to use Heiken Ashi. It's a really good simple indicator of a trend change, and I really like the 4-hour one. I think it's very reliable turns. So FLM, let's see if we can find support and turn up higher. I'm watching that one. Solana, everybody's favorite. This is another one that has made a beautiful three-wave correction back to support previous resistance. And so if we go to the weekly on this one, put regular candles on, you can see what I mean. We had 185 as resistance. This is just based on fib projections. You can see that 1.618 was the high here, 2.618 was support, 4.236 and so on. And so that gives us the next target up here at 288. So I'm looking for us to break out from this bullish pennant and turn higher. We've got rejected so far today. Not a surprise, it was a pretty bearish day, but we've pulled back to support, and hopefully I'm looking for Solana to try again from here. And if we can break out above this trend line, next outside target in Solana is 288.34. Yeah, otherwise this would be a three-wave rally, and that would mean another leg lower or a retest of the lows, unfortunately. So we can, this is how you do it, like, so you measure it like this. So we might have a little bit of trouble at 241, but above 241 I think we're looking pretty good in Solana. So waiting for the breakout. If we can get a bit of a relief rally after today's selling, this is one of the ones that I'm watching to rally. So AVAX, what a amazing outperformer this one is. Okay. So this is another one which is broken. I know I've got a lot of scribbles on this chart. Okay, I had this 128 level as pretty nasty resistance. We made a bearish shooting star candlestick yesterday. Let me take this away. In fact, if I hide everything, you can see this was a bearish shooting star. I know a lot of people that won't trade pin bars like this unless they see the highs retested, but for me this is holding above those levels, and as long as we hold above those levels, support and resistance levels, we're still going up. Now the next level that we have to close above is 142.8. Above 142.8, which is my level, the next target is 169 to 175. That's our reversal zone. So still in a really strong uptrend in AVAX. The issue now is going to be this, because this correction in scale is very similar to this one and to this one. Or are we due a bigger three-wave correction like this, you know? And only if we make a new high or close above 142 and hold above it will tell us. So looking pretty strong, I think, in AVAX, and looking for 175 next, as long as we stay above 128. So support and next target. So more to come. GALA is one we looked at in the group today. GALA. And I thought I would mention it again because it's a very similar pattern. See, if we look at these fib levels, let's take away the pullback levels. 0.3988. Okay, I got this by measuring. This is our first swing. ABC correction. Projecting it from here. So I'm looking, normally you would expect this wave 3 to be 1.618 or 2.618 or sometimes 4.236 of the first swing. So this, you know, we stalled initially at the 1.618, but then we carried on. We've stalled again here at this 2.618. But again, if we close above it, so if we close above basically 0.4, we're going to continue higher to 0.6 in GALA. So that's what I'm looking at. When we looked at this morning, what you don't want this to be is an ABC rally. And that's potentially what we've just done, because that would mean it's corrective. 2 equal swings would mean another swing lower. Potentially we could say even worse, this would be potentially a head and shoulders pattern, and so we would say bigger correction. And this head and shoulders pattern is a pattern that you very often see when you overshoot a level, so that would make a lot of sense here as well. So then we would be looking for 38.2 pullback of this whole wave 3. So we'll put it on from there. 38.2 would bring us back to 0.3297. Gosh, that would just be a retest of this low. Second swing. So GALA, wave 4 back to 0.3297 before the next leg up. This rally today really has just stopped at the wrong place to be bullish. Now, if we hold on here, remember, when you draw an equal measure move, if you hold the 61.8 level and keep going, then it means you haven't reversed. It's only if we go a little bit lower here, we've got that bear flag and we'll have another swing. Basically, this is potentially a bear flag. Your first warning will be underneath those hourly moving averages. So GALA, maybe a bear flag. Next one is XAVA, another interesting chart we have been following. Where is it gone? Okay, weird. Gosh. Okay, let's draw it again. I thought I had already. XAVA. So this is another one. This isn't a really strong swing. Let's measure our wave one here. So I think this is wave 1, 2, and now we've got 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3, 4 of 3, 5 of 3. And I think this has got a little bit further to go to get to, because we're holding above this 1.618 where I would normally expect it to stop. Now it's not behaving perfectly, but still in a pretty nice uptrend. And you can see we make big strong moves, consolidate sideways and carry on again. So this one, if we go down, also has made a pretty nice three-wave correction. I think that this may also have another leg higher. However, this is one of those kind of ones where I would be really cautious about my entry if I didn't already have some. So if I already had some, I would be pleased at the sort of shape that this chart is making. But if I didn't have a new position, you know, this is really quite stretched. We're a very long way from that daily 20 moving average, and that always makes me a little bit nervous that we're likely to do a bigger correction. So XAVA, I think it's a great chart and got more upside if you're already in it, but I think new positions are really too risky in this one for me. Okay, Ocean is one that we looked at last week. So I really kind of like the setup in this one. So what we've done here is, let's zoom out. This is our weekly chart. So we had a big drop. We rallied to the 50%. This high here was the 50%. Pull back 50%. Now we're on our way up again. So next swing, normally when your first swing is to a 50% or lower, you tend up going all the way back to the highs, or at least the 886, which would give us a target all the way up here, and then that would make a back pattern around 1.75. So if we can get there, so hopefully, and that's like a 1270. Yeah, no, okay, more likely we're going to end up here then. So looking really strong. What I also like about this one on the weekly is, see how each time we couldn't close. This was like we couldn't close. We tested it, went all the way up, but couldn't close at new highs. Last week we got a new weekly high close, and that points to more upside as well for Ocean. So wouldn't give up on this one yet either. This has also made a very nice corrective move lower. Pull back, it's a bit choppy and overlapping, but I think it's on its way up again. This daily says we're on our way up again, and very often when you get stuck, it'll be at that 50% in these kind of mean reverting markets. So I would say on this daily, if we can close above that 50% level, which is at 1.0053, next leg up underway. Now we may, because of this 50% thing, get that 50% pullback here. That would make a very nice inverted head and shoulders pattern here in Ocean, because everything else is pointing to higher for this. So that 50% level, 1.00053, becomes then the neckline of an inverted head and shoulders pattern. And if you were looking to grab some, 50% back would be where I would be looking. So I still really like this one. UOS is one that we looked at last week, I think. And this one has smashed through the target today, this 1.618 level. So where does this come from? Again, okay, I'm just going to show you. So I think that this is 1, and then we did a funky 2. If not, if this is just 1, anyway, I'm measuring the swings and they keep having relationships. So let's unlock this so you can see what I mean. So this 1 and 1, 2, 7, 2 from this first swing. So now I'm projecting for a third drive, and these levels of keep working. So I'm going to stick with them. That means that this 1.56 should be support, and we should continue higher to 2.23, even if we just do most recent correction projections like this, it puts us up above 2, and again from here. Let's yeah, more upside anyway. So accelerating, this is entering its acceleration phase. So if you are still in ultra, I would put my stop under, let's go back to those initial projections we had. Okay, I would put my stop underneath 1.56, and I would look for this to keep going higher to 2.2. And if you are short-term trading, this is a market that is trending really nicely, so a really nice ticker to look at. So more upside to come for that one. CRV, most stuff I have to say is probably going to go down with Bitcoin, and so you really do need to look for something that is trending higher and behaving. Otherwise, you know, get into cash, wait for the end of the year, and wait for this market to bottom again, and be ready to go up. Let's take a quick look at CRV. Now we'll go to the daily of this one. So this is another one that looks like a bullish flag pattern in an uptrend. We've got a little bit rejected today though, so not a happy look. Doesn't mean that we're necessarily sometimes first time you ask, this is what you get. Third touch of a trend line is very often a false break. You come back to support, you try again, and you go higher. So at the moment, CRV, I would say, is not ready, but I would put an alarm on this upper trend line, because if we find support here at this 200, at this, you know, these previous highs and these moving averages, if we look on the daily 20 moving average, now we're above it, should be support. The 20 moving average is really effective support. So we shouldn't really come back sort of more than halfway of this big move that we had today. And so somewhere here in the middle, we should find support and try again. And if we can break out of this channel, 5.739 is my first fib target for CRV, US dollar, tether, and these closing highs from before, and the 236 of the spike. So that's what I'm looking for. Also, we should also this. So remember we talked about how equal measured move, when you pull back, the 61.8 should be support, because underneath it confirms the bearish reversal. So we're bouncing from the really ideal bullish place in CRV as well. We just need a breakout from this channel to confirm. So is arrow NK and then a fifth wave too. I'll have a look at that if I've got time. I don't ENS. I'm just going to do one more for tonight. I had a really difficult week. I will be back on my game next week. I'm just not. Just been a hard week. So let's see, ENS. This is not a ticker I've looked at before, I don't think. Someone in my group asked for it. Let's see what they said. Okay, 4 hour, let's see. Yeah. So they're wondering if this is, should we see another leg? I think we should see another leg higher, because this just looks like one big straight move, doesn't it? And then a 3-wave correction. So yes, if we bottomed here, but first we've got to bake a bottom, and we look like we're retesting it. So yeah, it's not in the greatest uptrend yet, is it? Let's see if the fib patterns help us here. Let's yeah, it's just consolidating in the middle. So these moving averages haven't flipped enough yet for another a swing in ENS. I would look for these lows to hold at 40, because that was a big 786 fib, and then I would look for another leg higher. At least with a relation to this one. And just because, you know, it's really hard to see this as a big correction 3-wave, isn't it? But sometimes, you know, we could be in a, there's so many things. We could be in a declining wedge and so on. Yeah, it's a tricky one, this one. Okay, I would say, yeah, we need to, let's see more evidence of a bottom. Solid Snake says, can we look at CVC? We'll have a quick look at CVC. I hate double tops. So whenever you see a double top, it's a sign that the market is stopped going up. And this one has done a perfect double top. So if you're in a one and it goes all the way up and it gets to the previous highs and lows are always tricky levels. They're always, they get retested all the same, because if you think about it, that's the trend. So whenever I would do this, as soon as we come back, so if you were long in this and you're watching it rally all the way up here, I would put my fibs from the lows and make sure that it doesn't come back beyond the 236 fib, because as soon as it does, you're in a bigger correction. And so by that I would mean I would be watching it on an hourly. That's how I tend to manage my risk. And so as soon as it breaks here, like on a retest, we continue lower. So unfortunately, which happens with a lot of you know, this is yeah, not so pretty, is it? Now, CVC has a lot more history. It's an old school coin. We should get a lot more history on a different chart. So I'm going to switch to Binance. Now, it's a slightly lower high here, but we've got, unfortunately, the same problem going on, haven't we? So we've gone 1, 2, 3 down, 1, 2, 3 up, 1, 2, 3 down, 1, 2, 3 up, and so there's no trend. Our moving averages on the daily are dead flat. So we're in a sideways range, and whenever you've got a sideways range like this, you really just got to buy the bottom and sell the top until you break out, and there's really not much else you can do, unfortunately. Let's try this. 38.2, damn it. So the support, to stop us going all the way back from the bottom, let's just look at simple support and resistance. You know, it's this 236 fib and these previous highs, isn't it? And so, like this, if we take them out, then we're on our way back to the lows. Unfortunately, this is like the middle of our sideways range. So whenever you get a big thrust candle, if this is a new uptrend, because it looks pretty good, 50% back of the open close, that's where it really needs to hold above. Otherwise, I'm afraid this is neutral, and everyone took profit at the top of the range. So CVC, that's unfortunate. Let's look at NKN. Okay, here we go. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? It's going to be just corrective three-wave chops fast. So I think this one. Okay, so when you're in an uptrend, sometimes you're correct. A simple three-wave correction will look like that, and you carry on. Sometimes though, it'll look like that. You'll go sideways, and sometimes, you know, it'll make a slightly higher high, and it'll look like that, and you carry on. And I think that that's what we did here. So we had this, and then so we've gone 1, 2, 3, and so in this one, this first wave here. And then we went A, B for B, and then this wave are equal. And if we look at it that way, because when it's very choppy and overlapping like that, that's what we've done here. A bit of an irregular move. And you can see that this swing and this swing are equal. So even though it doesn't look like it, it is 3 waves up and it's 3 waves back here in the middle. So correction. So this will be our first leg, second leg done. And now we'll do one more swing before this correction is over. This is quite a weird, but no, I can't. Let's say this, we'll take our fib levels from this low to high as our targets, okay? And we'll say that this will go down level to level, and probably this 786 will be the first place. So 0.305 would be the first place that I'd be looking for this to have a go and make a bottom. Okay, my stream is in high definition, so I think you have to fiddle with your settings on your, I don't know how I do that. If you know how to do that, tell me, because I'll make it. Like, I can make my videos in high def, but I'm at the top as YouTube makes it. 720 is as good as YouTube can make it. Okay. Lisa Hamilton Smith, good to see you. And if you're celebrating Thanksgiving this week, I hope you have a really lovely time. And, you know, it's been a very tricky year for a lot of people, but I hope you all find something to be thankful for. I certainly am thankful for all of you. Okay, so thank you for coming